we like to think that every choice we make about the message we're trying to convey is about amplifying that message, from every color choice to the speed of motion, to the forms on the screen and so on. So I think that really comes through that design and strategic thinking. The other thing is we're obsessive about details. We've really become well known for our particularly detailed product renderings.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Patrick Coffey. He's the Executive Creative Director at Tendril Design and Animation. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Hello. Nice to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. So Patrick, why don't you start and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm been at Tendril since the beginning, which was, early 2000s. I'm a father of four, so I'm prolific in that regard. And sometimes I feel like a big daddy at the studio as well.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like you've got, an interesting background leading you to Tendril. Tell me a little bit more about Tendril.
Yeah. So, we are really a design animation company, but I guess essentially we're an innovation communication company. We really bring all of our skills and craft to the table to help amplify our client stories, which are largely around innovation at this point. Someone is trying to do something innovative, or they have an innovative product and they're trying to communicate to that world. That seems to be our niche at the moment.
Interesting. Tell me a little bit more.
Yeah. So, we began, humble origins. We were three companies. We were an editorial company, a visual effects company, and a design animation company that collaborated together and collaborated really well. So we worked together in sort of a collaborative capacity for maybe about 5-6 years, and then we ultimately merged together under the Tendril moniker, which had better traction internationally. We create a lot of brand films, brand anthems for large tech companies. We're in the automotive sector, beauty sector, luxury sector, basically anywhere where you have people innovating on products, they'll reach out to us. I think we're doing a very innovative dish soap at the moment. So we touch lots of different things. We also do installation projects, and we've branched out beyond just video.
Interesting. So it sounds like, there's the branding. So it sounds like, is there branding, campaign, product launches, animations, things like that? Is that all included in kind of what Tendril does?
Yeah, exactly. It's largely based around brand messaging or new product messaging, that sort of thing. We do design systems as well. Everybody's familiar with the traditional brand guidelines. What are your CMYK colors? What is your Pantone? What is your print? What cardstock, all that sort of thing. Everyone's trying to update those now to include things like motion, to be a bit more flexible and modular out in the world. And that is another niche that we found ourselves, is kind of modernizing brand guidelines, motion design systems, that sort of thing.
Interesting. And there are obviously other creative studios out there. So how is Tendril really able to differentiate itself in that space?
Yeah, well, we have a pretty extensive design background. One of our principals trained under Bruce Mao. And so we really bring a lot of the design principles to bear in what we do. It's a lot of purposeful and intentional thinking, and strategy behind the way that we tell a story. We like to think that every choice we make about the message we're trying to convey is about amplifying that message, from every color choice to the speed of motion, to the forms on the screen and so on. So I think that really comes through that design and strategic thinking. The other thing is we're obsessive about details. We've really become well known for our particularly detailed product renderings. We have some very exacting clients, from Apple to Microsoft to Hublot watches. We even went down to the Hublot design center. We flew a team over there to meet with their scientists. They're doing so many innovative material research and design, and they're very, very exacting about reproducing that correctly on screen. So I think we're becoming really well known for how we render products in a really beautiful and intentional way. And then the last thing is a collaborative thing. We bring some of that Canadian sensibility to the table where I think we try and make it really easy to deal with our clients. We start every relationship with a working agreement, which is really about like what they can expect from us and what we expect from them. And we find getting as clear as we can on those things out of the gate really leads to a smoother process down the road and a lot of client retention.
And you talked about rendering different products in a beautiful manner to really enhance a brand. Why is it so important that brands have the support of a company like Tendril?
Yeah, so some of the skills that come to bear in doing that are very particular and very niche. And though a lot of companies, especially these large tech companies, have really, really exceptional internal teams, the consumer is also very, very knowledgeable in particular now. We have such a high level of visual effects in film and in episodic TV. So if your product doesn't look as good as the latest episode of Foundation or the latest Star Trek film, then people don't see it as a premium product or as an innovative thing. So to try and play in that field, they need a really particular attention to detail, and that's something that they come to us for.
Interesting. And I'm curious to kind of pick your brain in your experience. Are there any common misconceptions that you tend to hear often, whether it be about the design space, about the industry, anything that comes to mind when I ask that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the common things that most people think about when they think of our design and animation is that we're very computer based or very tech driven. And in fact, the technology, as we're learning with the introduction of AI and so on, I can get more into that later. We're learning that it's not about the technology that differentiates us. It is very much about the people and the talent and the creativity and the storytelling. And that's the piece that what we do is really much more important than someone who can open up a piece of 3D software and make a cool render.
Interesting.
The other one is on the AI side. I touched on that, but I would say right now, super hot topic. Everyone at a party, when I talk about what I do, says, "Aren't you worried about AI?" And this feeling that AI is somehow going to take jobs away from us in the design and animation industry. But honestly, it's just another tool. So we're not worried about it. In fact, we're deep into it and using it and learning how to wield it better and more efficiently to help us do our job even better, iterate faster. And at the end of the day, you still have to bring creativity to the AI. You still need to train it. And it's very much dependent on how you train it and how you wield it, the results that you get. So that's the other misconception that's floating around right now.
That's really interesting. And I'm curious to kind of circle back to what you said about AI is not going to take jobs. You still need that human touch and you still need to train the AI too, is right. And I'm curious when you start working with clients, would you say their biggest challenge is needing a revamp or a rebrand, or do you tend to find yourself working with newer companies who are just starting from scratch?
I would say it's a bit of both. We work with some newer companies that are coming onto the scene and with some sort of an innovative new take on the industry. And so they want to amplify that message to help them stand out in the way that their product stands out. But as I said, we're also working with lots of the tech giants who are very established, but they constantly need to be putting out message of how they're staying kind of ahead of the game. So it's largely a mixture of both. Mostly what we tend to lean into is just we get very excited about a good story. And usually when someone is doing something innovative, that story is an exciting one to tell and one that's kind of inspiring to people.
I think that's fantastic. Well, Patrick, this has been a very insightful conversation. As we start to wrap up, is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with, whether it be about the industry, about Tendril, any advice, anything you want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, for those that are thinking of, contacting a company like ours or adding this to their messaging, I can't emphasize more to involve people like us early on. Often people go very far down a path of thinking, oh, well, we'll do this, this, and this. Now we'll get someone to do it. But the technology is changing so quickly and the ideas and our techniques. The sooner you involve us, the more we can help you come up with new ideas that haven't been seen before. Because how could you be expected to keep up on all of the different things that we're capable of doing? So I would say in general, reach out to the experts early, consult with them about, hey, what kind of cool things, what kind of interesting things can we do to catch the attention of the audience that we're trying to capture? So yeah, I'd leave you with that. The other thing I would leave you with is maybe this new venture we've entered into where we have created kind of a platform or ecosystem with another company, Future Deluxe. It's called Forever. And that is really a platform based on shared values to help us extend our capabilities through shared R&D, through communicated techniques and process. And we can bring this layer of innovation that gives you the scalability and the advancements of a big company, but with a small company, small studio vibe.
I love that. I love that. And you mentioned reaching out to a company like Tendril. Where can they reach Tendril?
Well, we're on the World Wide Web at tendril.studio. You can also find our greater group at thinkforever.com. And if anybody wants to send me a note personally, ask me any questions, I am on Instagram at patio567.
I love it. Fantastic. Well, Patrick, like I said, this was an insightful conversation. I've loved hearing everything that Tendril has done, is looking to do in the future with Future. And I think this was great, and I really appreciate you being on Business Ninjas.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Kelsey, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Great to
Bye,
have you.
everyone.